Welcome to the Micheaux Mission, Two Men, One Podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Vincent Williams, and I'm joined as always by my partner.
Hey, what's up? Holla at your boy. This is Len, aka the Bat Tribble.
And on this stop on the mission, a bona fide legend, the iconic A Raisin in the Sun, the 1961 adaptation of Lorraine Hansberry's equally legendary play, starring Claudia McNeil, Diana Sands, Ruby Dee, and Sidney Poitier.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that, Mr. Webb, do we have any business that we should conduct?
Why, certainly, Vince. We certainly do. We want to thank each and every one of you who are out there watching and enjoying our show as we stream live on video on YouTube as well as in our Facebook group. Shout out to each and every one of you. What's up? Vince, we got letters. We've got emails, Vince.
All right.
We received an email from Matt Lampert.
Hey, Matt.
In regards, in the subject line, it says term paper.
Okay.
Hey, guys. Wanted to say, first off, that I'm a big fan of the show and love how you have found a way to keep it going through the pandemic. I am working towards obtaining my master's degree in mental health counseling. And I recently submitted a term paper where I was instructed to develop a 3-level action plan to learn more about the culture of my choosing.
Okay.
I immediately thought of your review of Barry Jenkins' Moonlight and decided to listen to it again and spend time discussing the movie's themes for this project. The paper covers topics relating to intersectionality, the systemic perpetuation of biases and prejudice in children, and models of racial identity development. I would be remiss if I did not let you know that I used your review of Moonlight in the first section of my paper and cited your podcast as a reference.
Oh.
I've written into the show a few times, once regarding Soul Plane and once regarding Juice. Wow, talking about like the gamut.
I know, right?
And am aware that you usually take the time to read responses in full. As I'm providing the entire 7-paragraph section of the paper where I reference the mission below, I wanted to say that you should not feel obligated to read this all on the air. Just wanted to let you both know the impact that your show has had on my enjoyment of film, as well as the expansion of my cultural knowledge. Much love, Matt. And then he sends us like basically his that part of his term paper,
Matt.
man.
Yeah, thank you. Honored to be cited.
I am. That is really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. And you know what? It's actually interesting for me on a personal note to hear that, because I was actually in a conversation with somebody not too long ago, and we were talking about Moonlight. We were talking about black films, but we were talking about Moonlight in particular. And that person, and I don't want to paraphrase what they said, but that person didn't enjoy Moonlight. And felt that, and I'm paraphrasing here, felt that the movie did a bit of a disservice to the representation of black men in film. And
why? Because why? Well, I'll just say why. I won't jump the gun, but why?
Because of the homosexual themes in the movie.
So just by default, any depiction of a homosexual black man is a representation of black men that this person you were talking to didn't agree with.
Well, I don't know if I'm not going to go so far as say as any representation, but I think it was more to the representation as it was depicted in that film. And I don't want to go too much deep into it because this was a conversation I had maybe like a couple of weeks ago So
Sure.
it's not all of it is not on my mind. I don't want to misrepresent entirely what the person was.
Sure.
was
And I'm
saying.
familiar with the conversation because I've had a version of that conversation several times. I actually talk about it on the review.
Yeah,
where there was this vein of thought about Moonlight. And I will say this, the person that you were talking to, did they see Moonlight?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and I'll say, then they're a step ahead of a lot of the people that I talk to.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that refuse to see it.
Right, they just refuse to see it. So
it's a shame because it's a beautiful film.
Yeah. But thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Know how you did on the paper.
Please do. We also got an email, Vince, from Azia Taylor. We haven't heard from her in a while. With all the stress nowadays, I can't wait to escape reality to listen to every new episode of the Micheaux Mission. One question, though. Are you going to continue with the binge lounge?
Is this a plant, Len? No. Did you tell her to ask that?
No, I didn't. I was quite surprised when I saw that email. I was like, yet another show that has found its way to the deeper recesses of the Micheaux Mission catalog. Azia continues, if so, would you consider a discussion about The Wire? Also, just wanted to include a few of my favorite Vince comments from the past.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to go in reverse order with this one. Number 3. I wish for God you call me on Thanksgiving unless it's the hotter body.
Isn't that funny? We were just talking about Thanksgiving shenanigans.
I know we were. Vince quote number 2. Vincent, this is your father.
It's 100% accurate. It is 100% accurate to this day.
And coming in solidly at the number 1 Vince quote in the Azia Taylor count off. Let me see if I do this justice. Richie!
Richie, he could not believe his brother had died in that little plane crash. I was thinking about the Big Bopper 3 weeks ago, and I thought the same thing I said then, that I feel bad for the Big Bopper because nobody ever talks about the Big Bopper. Was in that plane crash too.
Nobody knows. Nobody
talks about the Big Bopper. It's like Buddy Holly, Richie Valens people have done an amazing job over the past 30 years bringing his name into the conversation. Nobody talks about the Big Bopper. Big Bopper died too.
Nobody even thinks to look up the Big Bopper's real name.
Including us.
That's a shame. And that is a shame. That is a shame. You know? And I'm not finished with Aziz's email. She says, for all new listeners, please don't miss the rants from the following episodes. Driving Miss Daisy.
Yes. That's going to follow us to our graves.
The World, the Flesh, and the Devil.
Oh, yeah, because that was you. Oh, did she say the follow-up where you amended your critique?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, nobody ever hears the apology, Vince. Nobody ever hears the apology. No, it's just a rant.
Right.
Then she says, and a twofer, the Attack the Block episode because that features the original acrimony rant, and then the acrimony episode for part 2 of the rant. Thanks for all you do, Aziza.
Thank you, Aziza.
Yeah, well, okay.
You really hated acrimony.
I did. I'm just mad you don't have a rant. You haven't ranted against the movie yet.
I did Driving Miss Daisy.
I guess you ran it. Yeah, I guess you ran it a little bit. Yeah.
And also, Tyler Perry's Temptation, a film by Tyler Perry. I think that counts as a rant.
I guess that does count, a bit of a rant. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Deborah Battle, who says she's happy to see our smiling faces tonight.
Hey, Deborah.
She says that most people don't know who the Big Bopper is at all, and that's very true.
Yeah,
and that's very true. And let's right that wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
We're gonna shine a little light on the Big Bopper.
The Big Bopper, who in real life was Giles Perry Richardson Jr., was an American musician, singer, songwriter, and disc jockey, best known for
Chantilly
Lace, and White Lightning, the latter of which became George Jones' first #1 hit. He also died tragically in the airplane crash back in 1959 in Clear Lake, Iowa, along with Buddy Holly and Richie Valens and the pilot, Roger Peterson. The accident was famously referred to as the day the music died in Don McLean's 1971 song, American Pie.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And
now we've all learned about the Big Bopper. You never know what you're going to learn by the time you go to bed.
That's why you get up every morning.
That's right. You got to.
You have to. George Kimona says that a Wire binge would be awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually am. I'm in the middle. I'm actually on the final season. I probably only got like about 3 more episodes left of rewatching The Sopranos.
Okay. How that hold up?
Oh my God, that is such a good show. That is a really, I mean, outside of like, some of the technology, you seeing, Tony Soprano with these big ham hands and this very like tiny flip phone in it. You know what I mean? So that's a little weird, but that movie is like spot on, fantastic. But I didn't know that The Sopranos, which went off the air in like 2006, 2007, that show even had Michael K. Williams on it in an HBO show. He was on that show as well. I mean, it's a small role on one episode, but I'm like, dang, he isn't like on. I think he has been on every HBO drama since The Sopranos. He's done a bit in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I try to do a Wire watch every couple of years. I'm actually due for a Wire rewatch.
I'm due for a Wire rewatch, so I watch it every year. I probably have watched it. Probably it's been about maybe 2-3 years since I watched it.
The 4th season stops me cold a lot, though.
That's the kids, right?
Yeah, that's the kids. The kids get me every time.
Yeah, man. That is, and then from there, even though the episodes aren't about to, because it's one more season after the kids, right?
Yeah, it's one more season after the kids.
But the kids are still prominent in that last season.
Right, they're around, right.
Yeah, it's It's a good show, though. I was actually tempted to watch it alongside there's a new podcast that started up.
Yeah.
Way down in the hole with
Jamel Hill, right?
Jamel Hill, and I started to watch it, but then I got caught up in a bunch of other stuff, so I didn't. But yeah, it's definitely worth rewatching. I don't know maybe we could do a binge lounge talking about it. We're way overdue for a binge lounge.
I know.
And it's not me, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he's right. He is right. Look, I have to say, the time that we have, I like digging deeper into the film.
Yep. I say, Vince, let's do a binge lounge. Let's do the work. I'm like, okay.
That is a direct quote. That is a direct quote.
Like, okay.
That is a direct quote.
Trying to give us a night off, but okay.
Yeah. Let's do the work. All
right. Well, maybe in January.
Like we talking about 80s, like we're talking about 80s Richard Pryor movies.
We certainly
like bizarre 80s, and there's so many things. Just earlier today, I told my daughter we were doing a Raisin in the Sun, and she was like, "Y'all haven't done a Raisin in the Sun yet?" And I was like, "There are so many films we haven't done.
There's a lot. There's
so
great deal.
But yes. If we do a binge lounge, The Wire is shortlisted.
Most definitely. We also got a question, Vince, on Twitter.
Okay.
From a new fan. I had it saved to share with you. Let's see. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Find this tweet real quick. Okay, here it is.
All right.
From J Maverick Jackson.
Hey, J Maverick Jackson.
On Twitter. It says, Micheaux Mission, a podcast on every Black film? Wow, ambitious. I've seen only a few Oscar Micheaux films, but love them. What's your list of best Black films? Pootie Tang was the only film trailer that ever got me off my couch and headed to the theater immediately. That's I don't know what to say about that.
Sarate.
I mean, I like Pootie Tang, but I didn't rush to the theater. That didn't. But Jay Maverick has a question for us, Vince. A true question.
Okay.
And this is the eternal question of the Micheaux Mission.
Okay.
How do you define Black film? A film with a Black protagonist? A film in which Blacks had major creative input? Is Captain America, Civil War, which introduced Black Panther, a Black film? Blazing Saddles, Summer of Sam, Pulp Fiction. Why or why not?
Yeah, I mean that is the ongoing question.
That is the ongoing question.
That is speaking of work that we haven't done and arguments that we haven't had that have been hanging in the air for literally years at this point. I was talking about Spike Lee's Second Wind. At some point, I'm bringing up 25th Hour and Summer of Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Both films that, have very minimal, if at all, Black cast.
Right.
Spike Lee films. And are those Black films? I don't know. I guess we got, we'll grapple with it.
I mean, Blazing Saddles we reviewed, and we definitely said it's a Black film.
Absolutely.
I think you, among other people, have brought up the possibility of Pulp Fiction being seen as a Black film. Right.
There was. I think it was Maurice Poplar who made an argument for Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, there's no hard set rule about it. I mean, sometimes you can't define a Black film, you just know it when you see it. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's just as simple as that, to be honest. But we'll see. We'll see down the line which comes up. You know. Hey.
Right, like we've talked about King of New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like Christopher Walken is the only white guy in King of New York.
Yeah, yeah. And famously, we had a guest that was prepared to argue the Dark Crystal.
Yes, yes, yes. Your guest, by the way, your guest.
Well, they didn't come on, so it's fine.
Yeah, no.
So it's fine. All right.
But thank you, and welcome to the party, and we'll take it case by case.
Most definitely. Before we get into our review, there was a bit of news that I actually was surprised that really struck a chord with the missionaries in the Facebook group. Were you a fan of the HBO series In Treatment, Vince?
No, I was not. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I think that was the series that Gabriel Byrne was. Yeah. He basically was a psychiatrist, and each episode was him just basically talking to his patient. You know, different patient each episode, and HBO is doing a reboot of the series, and they've cast Uzo Aduba to be the new protagonist, I guess, or psychologist in that series. And the Micheaux missionaries, they were really, really excited about this. Raul Keffel said, I actually searched before posting, just read an article about this, and I got so excited. The show is inexplicably excellent. I have watched it a lot, and this one stayed with me for years. I will just add the last line in the article I read so we can all set our expectations. Production for In Treatment Season 4 is set to begin this fall under COVID-19 guidelines with a premiere scheduled for 2021. So everybody's really looking forward to that show. And I've heard nothing but great things for the show, and maybe this will be a reason for me to go and check it out on HBO Max and relive it.
And I'm a big fan of hers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big fan of hers. So.
Me too.
Just a follow up to our conversation. You saw they're going to stream Wonder Woman, right?
Wonder Woman 1984 is going to be streaming on Christmas Day, as well as being released into the theaters.
Right. All 4 of them.
Vince. It's going to be released in theaters as well on Christmas Day. Okay? So,
we're in the midst of a shift.
We're in the midst of a shift. I understand. But you know what else is coming? Is going to streaming on Christmas Day? The Pixar movie Soul, which is the first Pixar movie that kind of like features Black characters as like the leads in the film, and it deals with soul music and jazz and everything like that. So I was curious, Vince, on Christmas Day, if you have to make the choice of which film to stream for your family.
Oh, Soul.
Okay. All right. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, definitely Soul. That's just how my family would work. Like, that's something all 4 of us want to see. Wonder Woman, 2 of us want to see it, and 1 of us is like, all right, I'll watch it, being my wife.
Oh, that could have easily been Adam. So
right. Oh no, Adam, I don't think has any skin in the game whatsoever with Wonder Woman.
Oh, really? Not yet?
Yeah.
It's coming. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost about that time for us to get into our review of A Raisin in the Sun. And I just want to point out to you, Vince, that this review that we are doing tonight is actually, like you put it out, we're reviewing one of the plays, and some would say even the movie, that are considered like landmarks and achievements in both their fields, in stage and in film. But this is also a film that we are reviewing this evening that means a great deal to one of our missionaries and that is Deborah Battle. Deborah Battle, and she's actually making people aware of this in the comments, is saying that this film, A Raisin in the Sun, was actually taught to her by her high school teacher, Donnell Lease. That was her teacher's name, and he actually wrote a song that Kanye West sampled for a song about his mother. She just found out that her teacher recently died due to COVID-19.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
And therefore, this episode has special meaning for her because this was something that he helped her with back in school. So, we're sorry for your loss,
Absolutely.
Deborah, most definitely. And our condolences go out to you and to your teacher's family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry to hear that. It's nothing like a good English teacher.
Amen, dog.
It is nothing like, I'm biased, obviously, but it's nothing like a good English teacher. Nothing in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. So, Deborah Battle, this review is for you.
All right.
Let us get into our review of 1961's A Raisin in the Sun. But first, some trailer talk.
What's on your mind, Mr. Webb?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Vince, because there is something that is on my mind. There was something else that, well, first of all, let's give George Kimona his quick little 60-second disco update. Are you caught up on Star Trek Discovery?
Yes, I've been caught up.
You watched the most recent episode, and how are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying it very much. I'm enjoying it.
So am I.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I caught up today, and I was like, "Oh man, this show is really good. This show is really, really, really good."
Uh-oh, I never actually plugged my computer in. Hold on.
What does that mean?
I just got the low power joint.
Oh, plugged it in. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it a lot, actually.
Yeah, I'm digging it, man. I'm digging.
I'm actually at the point I'm fanboying it. I'm waiting for them to get new uniforms.
You think they're going to get new uniforms?
How they not going to get new uniforms? They're walking around in 1,000-year-old uniforms. They gave them the insignias that do all the stuff.
I know. Those fly. Those mad fly. I want one. I want one. I want that.
They did something about Burnham's hair. I'm loving all of it.
I know. Doing everything with it. So Vince, and forgive me if you I know you probably said this before, but where do you stand on musicals?
Oh, I love musicals.
Yeah?
Right. You don't like musicals.
As a rule, I don't like musicals.
As a rule, you don't like musicals. I love musicals.
But then I keep coming up with about 10 musicals that I like. Now, There was an article that was put into the Facebook group about the reemergence of musicals and how they're being a lot more inclusive now, especially in regards to, this comes in the wake of Netflix recent release from director David E. Talbot, Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey,
which I would have chosen
focuses on a black family.
Which I would have chosen next week if you didn't have a more interesting choice. Because that was also released in theaters in limited release. So it falls under our purview.
It does. And I actually was thinking about it. I was like, oh man, this would have been fun to do for December, but we've already got December lined up.
Right.
But we can still do it. Maybe we'll do it, we'll make it happen. But I was curious, with that reemerging, with the success of Hamilton, even though it went to streaming, do you think that musicals are actually primed to make a comeback? Like, are they here to stay, or is this just a fad of the week?
I think it's a fad of the week. I also think, frankly, I question the songwriters, frankly. Like, I think the thing about the classic period of musicals is that you had some killer songwriters, and you had a bunch of them. Oscar and Hammerstein and other people I can't think of right now.
Well,
but it was like a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I just don't know. And I honestly just don't know. Like, I don't know who's working in musical theater like that.
Well, Lin-Manuel Miranda, he has his
but
follow-up.
Lin-Manuel Miranda can't write everything.
Okay, well, he's got another movie coming out next year, Into the Heights,
which is an older work of his.
Right.
But like what was the last great musical before Hamilton? And that's an honest question. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, the last thing I remember is Rent.
Rent was big. Rent was big.
What's been a musical between Rent and I know In the Heights did well.
It did well. I don't think it became like the sensation that Rent did.
Right. But what has there been? It's like everything is an adaptation of a movie series or
when did I'm drawing a blank on the name. The Wizard of Oz movie. I mean, play. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you mean Wicked.
Wicked.
I thought Wicked was from like the 80s or 90s.
Oh, I don't think it's from it's definitely not from the 80s.
It's got to be from the 90s. You know who would be good? You know who would write a great musical? Did you watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
Yeah, I did watch a few episodes of that. Yeah.
She could probably write a killer musical.
She probably could. I mean, because she had to write one for every week with that show.
Right. Her and her team.
Wicked, which was by Stephen Schwartz and Winnie Holzman, first performance was in June 2003.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that recent.
Yeah.
It feels like a 90s musical. Okay. So,
It does. Wicked. I mean, I enjoyed Wicked.
It's like Rent. It's like Wicked. And I'm just not a theater dude like that. But then, if you figure that's where you get the musical from, and then you make it into a film.
Steven Spielberg is redoing West Side Story.
I know, but again, that's a redo.
Yeah, I know. And that's not the director I want to see doing West Side Story.
There's nothing about Steven Spielberg that screams West Side Story to me, but,
MJ Dickerson says that The Wiz and School Days are the only musicals that she recognizes.
I ain't mad at that. School Days the musical could be fun.
School Days the musical would be hot. That would be hot. Yeah,
School Days the musical would be all right.
That would be. I would actually. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we need that. We need that to happen. Oh, this is the other thing I want to say. This is the last bit of trailer talk.
Okay.
Remember one time when we were thinking about we were going to invite Scheme Richards, DJ Scheme Richards, onto the show.
Yes.
Now, Scheme's fantastic DJ, fantastic historian about everything.
Yes, he is.
but he's a huge kaiju fan. Loves big
Yes, he
monster
is.
movies. Loves Godzilla movies. We invite him on. I will basically be quiet for 30 minutes while him and Vince just splooge all over Godzilla for 30 minutes. So we tried to think of, was there a black kaiju movie? There hasn't been.
Right.
Unless, and this is reaching. It's probably just reaching for a dumb joke. You count a Medea movie.
Oh, Lord.
You could, baby. There's an argument that Medea is a
I
kaiju.
am not trying to take an hour and a half of Scheme's time and talk about Medea.
If we did a Medea movie, we could flip the show and do the review in the first 15 minutes of the show, and then y'all could just zone out on.
And then we could just talk about 70s Marvel comics
and Godzilla
and
movies.
kaiju monsters. Yes, I like it.
All right, I'm gonna pitch that to Steve.
Yes.
I'm gonna pitch that to Steve. I think he'll go for that. I don't think he'll go.
One of the few people I actually follow on Instagram, and he's always like highlighting stuff from his geek collection.
Wait a minute, Vince. Okay, I didn't expect Trailer Talk to go this far, but I got to do it, and I might as well do it on air for the people to enjoy. I was talking to one of my triples, Kennedy, who you know.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And she said, yo, why is Vince on the low real creepy on Instagram? And I said, why? She said, because he doesn't participate. He's just out there lurking and looking at everybody's stuff. He's like
It's
on
true.
the low,
It's
mad
true.
creepy.
It's true. That's 100% correct. That is 100% correct.
Oh God.
I don't have nothing to post. I just like looking at people's stories and things.
That's what she said. She said, I just see him he's just looking. He's not participating or anything. It's like, that's creepy. That's creepy. That's stalker material.
I mean, it's only creepy if you're doing it secretly.
True. And you're not doing it secretly.
Right,
Very
you know.
True. Very true. Okay. Oh, George Kimona puts out a kaiju movie that maybe we could review with Scheme. Pacific Rim. I don't know. I wouldn't say the first one, but the second one, because the second one is John Boyega is in it.
That we might be able to flip through.
Yeah. Because John Boyega is the lead on the second one. Idris Elba is only like co-star.
He's like supporting
in the first
even
one.
though the first one is so much better than the second one.
I actually never saw the second one.
Yeah, it's not that good. And it breaks my heart to say it.
Well, maybe
But I like that.
Maybe we'll fight the argument. No, but I like the idea of doing Medea and then just let y'all two talk. So
all right.
That'll be that's my Christmas gift to you. We'll make that happen sometime as soon as we can, Vince, just for you.
All right.
All right. It's time for us to get into our review of 1961's A Raisin in the Sun.
All right. A Raisin in the Sun, a 1961 film based on the play by Lorraine Hansberry, follows the Youngers, an African-American family living together in an apartment in Chicago. Following the death of their patriarch, they try to determine what to do with the substantial insurance payment they'll soon receive. Opinions on what to do with the money vary. Walter Lee, played by Sidney Poitier, wants to make a business investment, while his mother, Lena, is intent on buying a house for them to live in. Two differing views of the American dream. Raisin in the Sun, besides Sidney Poitier and Claudia McNeil, also stars Ruby Dee and Diana Sands, with Star making turns by Dixon as Joseph Assegai, Louis Gossett Jr. as George Murchison. And I paused because when I'm looking at it, it doesn't have the name on my listing of my favorite villain of all time, my actual favorite villain in fiction, Carl Lindner, played by John Field. Based on a screenplay by Lorraine Hansberry and directed by Daniel Petrie. A Raisin in the Sun was the choice of Lynn Webb. Mr. Webb, what say you of 1961's A Raisin in the Sun?
I had never seen this movie. I've always, heard about it, know of its, renowned in the world of fiction as well as literature. I have seen local adaptations of the film, never like a big, to do. Never saw it on like Broadway or even in the bigger theaters here in Philadelphia. It's always been like some local theater group doing it. So I was familiar with the story, but even then, it's probably been at least 20 years since I saw those, right? So a lot of the nuances was had left me. So I was really, really looking forward to watching this film and taking it all in. And I have to say that for the most part, I was well rewarded for that. What you have to realize is that in 1961, it is still a big shock for there to be a major motion picture that features predominantly an all-black cast. But even then, it is even more so a huge, thing when that cast is allowed to just be human in a production, in a story. There is, for most of this film, their blackness is not the meat of the story. It is just them living their life, having the lives of these black people on display for you. And that is very, very progressive, especially for 1961. As close as that may sound, it actually is a long way away, a long time ago, and it is almost in a country that does not even exist anymore, almost. So watching these characters just come to life on screen and just being able to just inhabit their own, joys and fears and miseries and anger and take ownership of their own feelings and their own situations was truly, truly enjoyable. I enjoyed it like no end. A lot of this film, in watching it, because it predominantly takes place in this one, this small, apartment complex, you are upfront with the characters, and you can't look away from what they're going through. The closeness of their living situation. You wake up with the closeness in this living situation that, the married couple, Sidney Poitier and Ruby Dee, Walter, and I just drew a blank on Ruth, Walter Lee and Ruth, asleep in their bed only to open up and their son is sleeping on the couch because he doesn't have a bed, and he's the boy that's easily about 7 or 8 years old. So you can imagine for 7 or 8 years, he's never had a bed. This is his bed. His bed is the couch. This apartment, which is a 3-bedroom apartment, doesn't have a bathroom. It shares the bathroom with the apartment down the hall. People have to race in and out to the bathroom. This is reality of, living in 1961, the Black experience in 1961, and yet it's not called out about. It's just a fact of the matter that they have to deal with, and they just deal with it. It's not ramming against it. It's just like, oh, this is what we got to deal with. This is our life, and you're introduced into their life. And I thought that was just, I know I could feel how refreshing that was for 1961, and I was enjoying that refreshment in watching the film. The chemistry between all of this family, from Walter Lee and Ruth, all the way down to Benitha, who was played by Diana Sands, the Walter Lee's younger sister, to the mother, the patriarch of the family, Lena, Mama, played by Claudia McNeil. And who else could play the mother in A Raisin in the Sun but Claudia McNeil? Just embodies it in that whole film. That their chemistry is tight, it makes sense because this is, for the most part, is the entire cast from the stage play. So that had been running since 1959 to mad accolades. So these characters were in their bones. They knew, you could sense that they knew how each other was going to act in a particular moment, and they were firing on all cylinders in the film. This film has some very strong, powerful moments. None more powerful than, to me, than when Diana Sands' character, Benitha, and talking about a coming out party for Diana Sands in this movie. What Diana Sands' character, Benitha, gets in a back and forth with her mom about the idea of God and her thoughts on God, which are not the ramblings of some chicken head or anything like that. There are well thought out perspectives on God, but she's doing them in her mama's house. Unless she don't know that she's in her mama's house, you can see that this is not going to end well when Claudia McNeil just looks at her and just doesn't even, face does not move. And the second you see her put her hands on the table, I'm like, well, she's about to brace herself. And she braces herself, gets up, walks over to Benitha, and she doesn't. And the crazy thing is, she smacks her, but she doesn't smack like the bejesus out of her. She smacks her just enough to let her know where she is and who she's talking to, and that's real. That's real talk. That's Black family talk. That's Black family talk right there. That's Black family. And it's just a real powerful moment. There is the story of this film is kind of slight. It's this family. They're dealing with, they've got a insurance check coming, life insurance check for the passing of their father. And this $10,000 life insurance check means a whole new world for all of them. That's how far $10,000 went in 1961, ladies and gentlemen. This is $10,000 1961 money, which might as well be $500,000 in 2020 money.
Do you know how happy I would be if a check for $10,000 showed up at my house right now?
Probably be just as happy as Walter Lee jumping up on the table, doing African dances. So yeah, they're dealing with that, and each and every one of them. Well, no, that's not fair. One of them has their eyes set on what this money is going to do for them. The other ones have their eyes set on what this money can do for all of them. Mm-hmm. And the dichotomy of that and the emotions that spring out of that yin and yang are palpable on the screen. So much so that when the person who has the rawest emotions about this, Sidney Poitier, when he's not on the screen, and he's not on the screen a whole lot, especially in the first half in the movie.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. He's not there, yet his presence is still felt, mm-hmm. because that's the impression that he left. He's still in the room when he's not in the room.
That's right.
And that speaks to Sidney Poitier, and it speaks to the writing and the acting that is on display in this film. And you talk about star-making turn by Ivan Dixon. I mean, we're not going to go into what dialect he was using to play a Nigerian, but just the idea. What?
You will not speak ill of Joseph Assegai on my watch.
I'm not going to speak ill of him. I'm talking about the actor Ivan Dixon. I'm not going to talk about his accent that he had.
You are not going to speak ill of Ivan Dixon as Joseph Assegai.
But his performance, that notwithstanding, was very, very beautiful. And what I liked about it was because from the American point of view and from his point of view, you see the difference in the American's point of view of Africa, Africa's point of view of America, and all in honest terms, not mm-hmm. in any belittling of anything. It's just referencing points of view. You have an introduction, a literal and authentic introduction into African lore and customs and culture by way of this movie. And this is 1961 that you had this. This is 1961 that is still fighting, ladies and gentlemen, against Tarzan movies getting made. This movie makes a joke about what people don't think about Africa is from Tarzan. That's because that's what the movie theaters are still putting out in 1961. This is the counteract to that. So that is a great term. Lou Gossett Jr. makes his film debut in a very small role, but he gets over in this film. Everybody gets over in this film. You talk about John Fielder, who comes in on the second half of the movie, and the second he walks in, you can almost hear the music, dun 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 dun, because the villain just walked into the piece. And that interestingly enough, is the only time to me where race is brought to the forefront of the story. And even then, it is still dealt in a very nuanced and thoughtful way, not indicative of 1961, not indicative of 1959, when this play actually was written. Mm-hmm. So I walk away from this film really amazed at all that I took in. I have some small gripes about it, which I think that ultimately, to me, keep the film itself from reaching the the highest standards of accolades to me, but it's mm-hmm. still an amazing achievement nonetheless. But I'm gonna give you your
mm-hmm.
your moment.
Yeah. I've read this play. I have studied this play. I've taught this play. This or Uptown Saturday Night This is the first black film that I ever saw when I was like 7, 8 years old. I teach this play. I teach this movie. I love every single thing about this film.
Do you teach? I'm sorry, real quick. You say you teach the play. Do you teach the play and the movie, or primarily the play?
I teach the play and the movie because I do think that there are important differences. You want to talk about small, not even grievances. There are one or two decisions that are made because this is a movie that I think weaken it in comparison to the play. We can talk about that later. But I just think this is a film that I always hesitate to use the term Shakespearean. But when I think Shakespearean, I always think of a text that the more you dig into it, the more it rewards you.
Right.
Like it's just a never-ending well of reward for your exploration of it. You know, something like you know, John Coltrane's My Favorite Thing, that whole album. A Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory, for me, is something that it just keeps giving. And this is a film that even today, watching it, and again, I can't tell you how many times I've watched this film. I love the performances. I think we joked a little bit about the theatrical nature of some of Sidney Poitier's performance.
Oh, I'll get there.
But I think this is a big role. This is a big role. And I'm so glad that you said you've seen other productions of it, because I think it is a role. It's sort of like Stanley in Streetcar Named Desire, where the role is so big, appropriately enough, as someone who played in one of the runs of it a few years ago, Denzel Washington, where he plays Troy. I think Troy in Fences is another one of these roles that it's very difficult to bring humanity to the role because the role itself is so epic. And I think you see so many shades of emotion with Sidney Poitier in this film. He's very angry.
Yes.
He's actually mean sometimes. Like the scene with him and George Murchison, played by Louis Gossett, is a wonderful scene because Walter is mean.
Yes.
He's funny. He's charming. He's depressed. He's proud. And Sidney Poitier captures all of that. You said it, talking about seeing this as a kid, Diana Sands, like I joke about You're Her and I joke about Thelma from Good Times. Diana Sands is beneath a 100% shaped the way I loved women. Like she is 100% the prism that as 9, 10 years old, I said, that's what a woman is. She is smart. She is sexy. She is goofy.
Yeah.
She is funny. She all of Diana Sands is fantastic.
I think she steals the movie.
Claudia McNeil, I think even in 1961, this mama role is one that very easily could have been one note.
Yes.
And stereotypical. And I think Claudia McNeil brings humanity. She brings warmth. She brings complexity. It's so funny, that scene that you're talking about where she slaps, where she slaps Benita. I've always said there are two instances of violence. Actually, three, if you count Ruth saying that she's going to spank Travis.
Right.
But it's Mama. And Mama and Walter Lee calls her out for it. He says, you talk about your children, you talk about their dreams, but really you just want to control everyone.
Yep.
And he's not wrong.
Nope.
So she's wonderful, she's wise, but she has her faults. Because again, this is my jam.
Yeah, I know.
For the past 5 years, I have really dug into Ruby Dee's performance
in this film.
Ruth is such a wonderful character. You don't get the fireworks
No.
you get with the other characters, but there is so much going on with Ruth. So I love the performances. I think this script, written by Lorraine Hansberry, who wrote the play, I think it is razor sharp. It is razor sharp. And, you know, talking about these performers, something that you just said, these four players, every combination is wonderful. Walter and Ruth, Walter and his mother, Walter and Benita, Lena and Ruth as the two mothers, Benita and Lena as mother-daughter, Benita and Ruth as in every combination is gold in this thing. I think the side characters are nice. I joked about Joseph Assegai. I love Joseph Assegai, but I always keep my eye on Joseph Assegai. Because the more you listen to Joseph Assegai, the slipperier he gets. I think it's very easy to talk about George Murchison, but Joseph Assegai has his own stuff too. And I think the play, again, back to the script, very subtly plays with it. I call him Carl Lindner because that's his name in the play. He's Mark Lindner in the movie. I just said it. He's my absolute favorite villain in fiction.
Really?
Lex Luthor, Dr. Doom, Thanos. Look, Carl Lindner is the perfect villain because he makes sense. Because he makes sense. And if you don't watch yourself, you are on the side of the racist. I love this film because I think the themes, you said it basically when you said, race isn't at the forefront. I think race is intertwined because this is about the American dream.
Exactly.
This is a story about the American dream, and talking about race, this is a story about how Black people have been shut out of that dream. And the way that this film deals with the American dream through the eyes of gender. I think, again, the big story is Walter Lee. And you see the arc of him coming into his manhood, as they say. And I think in 1961, it is radical that Lorraine Hansberry articulates the fact that your material success, or even the sort of traditional markers of manhood, like he owns a home and all of this stuff. That's not what defines manhood. Manhood is about character.
Right.
So that even when she gives him the money, even when he makes the big business deal, it is not until that moment of adversity where he stands up that the play, through the mouth of Lena, says he come into his manhood together. But the remarkable thing about gender is how it deals with women.
Yes.
Again, I think these three female characters are absolutely fascinating and radical for 1961, and none more so than, as you said, Benita. Benita is the gift that keeps giving. Benita is smart. I love the fact that Benita is sexually autonomous and has her own agency. There are several moments in this film, one of my favorite funny moments where it's the three of them, and much like you, those are my favorite scenes, the scenes with the women. And she's talking about George Murchison, and Ruth is teasing her about George Murchison and marrying him. And she said, George Murchison is good for going out and stuff. And Ruth, because Ruth is nobody's dummy, says, what is and stuff? Lena laughs it off, and then she thinks about it and says, yeah, what is and stuff? She's the one that asks Ruth, did you, first she says, how far along are you in your pregnancy? Which is an oblique reference to abortion that then actually comes up.
And think how radical that is for 1961.
That's right. And then she says, did you plan it? So, And then my favorite thing about Beneath Her, the thing that I love all the time, is that when Mark Lindner comes in with this deal about buying the house back from them, and all we know about racism is, and Lena says it, people lynching you and chasing you, but it's a brand new day.
Yep.
Beneath Her gets what's going on first.
Oh yeah, because she gets her hammer.
And this is something that is consistent in the play. If you look at the stage directions in the play, it is very clear that Beneath Her is better equipped for this than anyone else in the family. So that, again, like I'll much like you, I'll just stop now so you can come back in. But look, this is a diamond. This is a diamond. It really is.
I was just thinking, because you reminded me about how openly they speak about the pregnancy and the abortion without using, they don't say the abortion word, but they are very open. There's no ambiguity about what they're talking about, because they're talking about, destroying a life, destroying babies, right? They just put it out there on Front Street. And it just dawned on me that this is 1961. This is 1961 in the theaters. This is a Black family that is speaking openly about these subjects. Mind you, this is also a Black family that was speaking openly about these subjects for 2 years on stage on Broadway. So, this was up front and in your face. And just to give you an idea of the times that we are in at this time, ladies and gentlemen, on television, if there is a married couple in a TV show, they are in separate beds at this time. One of the most popular shows of the day is the Dick Van Dyke Show at this time. The Dick Van Dyke Show, which for its entire 5-year run, somehow miraculously gave birth to a son by them sleeping in separate beds inside their bedroom. And yet this film opens up with a couple sleeping in bed, one arm over the other, entwined with one another. You know what I mean? This film speaks of, pregnancy, puts the word out there, pregnancy, and speaks also of doing away with the pregnancy. That is groundbreaking stuff. And it's not spoken about in any type of, it's not really spoken about in any type of demonistic way, because while Lena, the mother, is definitely against it, it's because it goes against her principles. You know what I mean? And it's also, I think it's really amazing that it doesn't overpower the rest of the movie. It is it's just this, because it is real life. It's this thing that you have to deal with. It's this one of the things that is happening in the home, and you got to deal with it. So much of this movie, I was reminded of, it felt like a more realistic depiction of the Honeymooners, because the Honeymooners would bend over backwards so that everything happened within the apartment of Ralph and Alice Cramden, right? No matter what happened outside. And this movie, despite us going a few times to other settings, but for the most part, all takes place within this apartment. Because even when we go to other settings, I don't think we're there for the longest time. We're maybe there, it's like 2 or 3 minutes, Yeah. And I don't necessarily mind that. I mean, that is also a function of this being a play that's been adapted for a movie, right? And we've talked about that. You've talked about that. How sometimes that can't just get away. You can't get away from the staginess of it, and you try to find ways to open it up. So when you're dealing with a play that, especially that is so honored already by the time this hits the screens, I can understand if you don't want to tweak things but so much. And you've got the writer of the playwright also being the screenwriter as well. So who knows how much you can tell me how much is she really tweaking of the dialogue, but so much.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty much the dialogue.
It's pretty much the dialogue of the play, right?
Things, but no, it's the play. I actually 100% agree with you though, and this. I mean, that's one of my. Again, that's my little why I will always choose the play over the film. The play is just that one set in the living room, and the couple of changes that they make, I think, bump up a little into the themes in the play. Like, I actually think it's so funny that you focused on the bed, because I think that's a misstep.
Going into that room.
I think so much of the play is about Walter's journey into manhood. And the very first scene of the play, Ruth walks out of the bedroom. You never see Walter in there. Ruth wakes up Travis, and then she calls into the room to wake up Walter. So you have this duality of basically these two boys being awakened by a mother figure. I think when you show Walter in his marital bed, not to put too fine of a point on it, but it sexualizes him.
Okay.
Like, he has to be a boy. So much, I mean, and they keep some of like that. It's that funny part where he gives Travis the money, and then he very sheepishly, he has to ask her for money too. So it's all it. So I don't like that. The other thing that I really don't like is that they show the house.
Oh.
Like,
you know
in my mind,
I felt that was tacked on.
The house should be an ideal. Because this is all about the American dream. So nothing should be tangible. But, you know, and then finally, I think so much of Walter bouncing off of the walls, you got to feel that claustrophobia that he feels. Like you got to feel like those moments where he says, you know, I got to get out of this house. You really feel it when it's that one set.
Right.
Because it is like, damn, it is just everybody. Another moment, by the way, talking about Lena, one of my favorite little details, where he says, I can't find no peace in this house. And then Lena says, have you found somebody else's house to find peace in?
Yeah. That's
and
a nice
he says, why is it when something's wrong with a man, y'all always think it's a woman? And I thought that was such a wonderful detail.
It is.
About the way men and women look at things differently. Like, they really did not understand him and where he was coming from. That's
true. That's very true. That's very, very true.
But that's my little thing. Like, it's like every time they go, every time I see the scene where they go to the house and they're looking through the house, I just grit my teeth a little bit.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when they went to their house, I was paying attention that for the most part at the house, they're not saying anything. It's a lot of, it's not dialogue. So it made me feel like this was definitely something that was kind of like tacked on. Now you got to imagine that she tacked it on because she wrote the screenplay. But there's very minimal dialogue there. And I thought like, this definitely feels like something tacked on to try and open up the world a little bit. And I guess I didn't mind it because I haven't seen the play, but I definitely don't feel it added anything to it. Like, you definitely could have done away with it. My thing that's the tweaking is that this film, we mentioned, is the film debut of Lou Gossett Jr.
Yes.
But it is also the directorial debut of Daniel Petrie, who would go on to be, a serviceable director. I don't think there's anything like mind-blowing in his filmography and in the TV work that he
made a living. He made a living as a director.
But this was his debut. And I feel that in this debut, he is hampered a little bit by the fame that is A Raisin in the Sun. The fact that this is not only is this acclaimed film, is this acclaimed film that has now been written for the screen by the playwright, and it is starring the actors who brought these characters to life on the stage. And as a first-time director, I get the sense that he's not really directing. He's really just pointing the camera, because there are moments in this film, as good as the acting is, where you mentioned it, the theatrics that are on display are very much in line with what you would do on stage, because your movements have to be bigger, because you're playing out to the cheap seats as well. You have to be more a little bit more thoughtful and direct in how you're getting your dialogue across, right? And all of these actors have done film work at this time, but I think because these characters are so baked into them after doing it for 2 years, or like almost 1,000 performances on Broadway, that it's hard to dial that down unless you have a stronger director that's working with you. I think the reason why Diana Sands gets over and steals the movie so much is because I feel of all of them, she does dial down her acting a little bit more, and it feels a little bit more natural, even in the moments where she is, a little histrionic, even in the moments where she is more playful, when she comes in doing the dance, the African dance, she's definitely being more playful and more goofy there, but it still comes off as real. And I think that she feels like she's, augmented what she's doing for the more intimate nature that the film will allow, whereas the rest of them, and probably Ruby Dee to a point as well, but the rest of them are just still very big, you know what I mean? And I think that is that's what keeps the movie like just a little, it just doesn't like really hit as much as I want it to. That would be my one gripe about it.
Well, I ain't never gonna fight you over Diana Sands being the best thing in a movie. Like, I'm never ever gonna fight you. Like, I want to just do Willie Dynamite next week and talk about Diana Sands. And then like them 4 episodes of Julia she was on. No, I hear you, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I don't. Again, I think it's sort of baked into these. I'm sort of scrolling through my head, kind of adaptations of plays into films, and then the characters, like plays that have like these, and I like, Glengarry Glen Ross is in my head, and like all of those characters are just big.
Oh God, I love that movie.
Like, they're just big, and certainly you can see them on stage, but in film, I mean, again, Streetcar Named Desire, same thing. Like, it's just like these are just big characters.
They are.
So, and I think where this is hampered more than everything else that I've named, even something like Glengarry Glen Ross, which is also one room, but it's a pretty big room.
Mm-hmm.
Like that meeting room is a pretty big room. This is such a small space that 90% of the action is on. And I think the reason I'm kind of pushing back is that both Sidney Poitier and Claudia McNeil have quiet moments in the film.
Do they? I mean, I'm trying to think of Sidney Poitier's real quiet moment that's in the apartment.
Oh, no. Not necessarily in the apartment. You know, again, I think just that space. Actually, like Sidney Poitier when Lena tells Travis about the house. He's just sitting at the table silently.
Well, yeah.
You know, I think that's a great scene. I mean, for the big speech at the end is not bad. Like when we talk about the bigness, like, you know, when he grabs Travis. So I agree with you that there is bigness in the film, but I suspect that's baked into the role. So, and I have to say, I actually like a couple of the couple of decisions in the direction. Like he kept doing things with mirrors and reflections.
Yeah, those cool little bits. Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool, but you know, to go along with what you said, these are really quibbles.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Like these are really quibbles, if nothing else. And you know, like what can you really say about A Raisin in the Sun?
Nothing.
Like
but
at the end of the day.
Deborah Battle brings up that this movie was made into a musical in the 70s called Raisin.
Sure
I remember that. I never saw it.
Joe Morton and Debbie Allen are
really,
and you know who played Travis. We've talked about this before. You 100% know who played Travis in Raisin.
Samuel Jackson.
I just forgot the actor's name, but Michael in Good Times. Ralph.
Ralph Carter.
Because remember, at the end of every episode,
right.
It used to say Ralph Carter appears courtesy of Raisin.
That's right, because he was still performing.
That's right.
For a time. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I forgot who plays Ruth. But yeah, Debbie Allen plays Benitha and Joe Morton plays Walter.
Okay. All right.
It's not a bad soundtrack either.
I'm trying to think of this movie as a musical though.
They have a hilarious song called "They Don't Do It Like That Anymore." After Mr. Linder leaves and Lena comes home and Lena says, "Did they threaten you?" And then they say, "Oh no, they don't do it like that anymore, Mama." And then it's a hilarious song about racism.
Huh. All right.
Yeah.
I have to put that on my radar. Musical.
Yeah. I always like to point out about Joseph Assegai, who, again, I love Joseph Assegai. And Joseph Assegai, my entire life, I've been working towards trying to be as smooth as Joseph Assegai when he tells Benitha to come back to Africa with him. And he tells her, and I quote, "I'll show you our mountains and our stars and serve you cool drinks from gourds and teach you the old songs in the ways of our people." I said, Lord have mercy, Joseph Assegai. Talk that talk. Talk, Joseph Assegai. And then after I finished swooning, I always like to point out that he said all that stuff, but you know what Joseph Assegai never actually says out of his mouth? "Come back to Nigeria with me so that you can be a doctor."
Oh yeah. And she peeps that.
No. She says he asked me to come and be a doctor at the end and the last scene, but Joseph Assegai never actually says that.
So do you think that she went with him? Because I always got the impression that she really didn't. Like she was infatuated with her, but she didn't go.
I don't know. There have been two, and I don't know how authorized they are, but there have been two sequels to A Raisin in the Sun. There was a play called, and I forget the name of it, but the play was actually about Benitha. And the play says that Benitha went to Nigeria and didn't become a doctor, but she went on into education. I've never actually read that play. But there's another play by Bruce Norris called Clybourne Park that
Oh.
I have read and I have done. And I believe there is a reference to Beneatha being a doctor.
Oh, okay.
But neither of these plays were written by Lorraine Hansberry.
No, tragically.
Yeah, because, right.
Lorraine Hansberry, who for Raisin in the Sun, was the first African-American female author to have a play performed on Broadway in 1959. She passed away in 1965 at the age of 34, victim to pancreatic cancer. I don't know if you know this, and people who follow the Micheaux Mission newsletter, the Micheaux Mission Dispatch, I put a little factoid in there that Lorraine Hansberry was actually the inspiration for Nina Simone's To Be Young, Gifted, and Black.
Yeah. And also, this is loosely based on some of her biographical information because her family integrated a community in Chicago and actually had to sue these similar, under these similar circumstances.
Right, a famous court case. What was that? Hansberry v. Lee. Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
So, Mr. Webb.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Because we do keep things structured and formal here on the Micheaux Mission. Would you recommend A Raisin in the Sun?
Absolutely. I would absolutely recommend people to see A Raisin in the Sun. I think it is a film that, despite its age, still has so much to say about the Black experience. 1959, 1961, 1971, 81, 2001, and next year. Next year, this thing will still be offering commentary on the Black experience. It is a phenomenal piece of work. And I look forward now to the opportunity to try and see it on stage and like really propped up on, get some lights, some big lights on it. But definitely go see this film. It's the next best thing to see in the original production, because you can't see that. So definitely go see A Raisin in the Sun and buy it, put it on your shelf.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot recommend this film enough. I'm so glad that you ended with buy it, because I really do think people should own this film. And I really do think this is a film that people should watch over and over again, because it really does reward viewings, repeat viewings. It really does. This is a film, this is a story that is in the DNA of Black drama. Like from, I mentioned Fences, but hell, I think there's a little bit of Mama in even something like Medea. I think I think the DNA
easy. Yeah.
The DNA of this thing is everywhere, and this is a masterpiece. This is a great film.
Lena Younger, never mind Medea. Lena Younger, the character Lena Younger, the mama in this A Raisin in the Sun, is in every mama ever since. Like after this is the archetype for the Black mama for at least the next 50 years. Easy. You can find one or two representations that pulled from this source material. Easy, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So you should absolutely watch A Raisin in the Sun.
Yeah. Definitely, ladies and gentlemen, and read the book and read the writings of Lorraine Hansberry. She only wrote one other play. Deborah Battle let us know, The Sign in Sidney Bluestein's Window. Just look up some Lorraine Hansberry. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen. Please do yourself that favor. All right. All right. Well, it's December. Right. It's a new month here on the Micheaux Mission. December next week, ladies and gentlemen. And that means we've got 4 new movies that we're going to be watching in this month. And for the month of December, Vince and I are going to be bringing you not one, not two, but three very special guests here on the Micheaux Mission for the next 3 weeks. It promises to be a lot of fun. We're going to kick things off next week in just a moment when I tell you what we're going to watch. Before I do that, I'm going to invite you to follow the Micheaux Mission everywhere on social media, be it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It don't even matter. Follow the Micheaux Mission at Micheaux Mission. Like and follow us also on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube page. If you have any feedback that you want to share with us, email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com. Micheaux is spelled Micheaux, MISSION. Micheaux Mission at gmail.com. And if you really want to help our show, you can go to the micheauxmission.com and hit swag for all of the cool designs and t-shirts and trinkets that we have there for your buying pleasure, because trust me, every sale goes a long way to keeping this show free for you. The Micheaux Mission is available in an edited form every Saturday at 1 p.m. on WPPM 106.5 FM, Philly Cam, People Powered Media, here in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And you can wake up with the Micheaux Mission every Monday morning at 9 a.m. on WKDU FM 91.7, the voice of Drexel University. The Micheaux Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com, curated podcast for your earbuds. Okie dokie. Vince, next week here on the Micheaux Mission.
Yeah.
We no, you go.
No, I will. I'm going to go and say that I was going to choose something, but then Len intrigued me with another choice, a film that is thematically a little bit, maybe not Christmas, but it's certainly about presents. One of the most bizarre films.
Whoa. Not that movie. That's not next week. That's not next week. That's not next week. Next week, we are welcoming back.
Oh, my bad. I flew too close to the sun.
Yes.
I said I'm going to program.
Next week, we are welcoming back for her third trip on the mission, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from sunny California, Jordan Calling of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network. She will be joining us as we will be reviewing from 2020, where it, believe it or not, had a very small theater release, so it counts. We're going to be reviewing 2020's Bad Hair.
Yeah,
that's right. That film that y'all been laughing at on Hulu, we're going to be reviewing it next week with Jordan Calling right here on the Micheaux Mission.
Looking forward to that. Haven't spoken to Jordan in a minute.
I know. She went out to California and became a big muckety muck producer at Maximum Fun. So it'll be nice to chop it up with her again. You know? Yeah. That's next week, ladies and gentlemen. Until then, we here on the Micheaux Mission, the Men of Micheaux, hope that each and every one of you stay safe, be happy, be well. Thank you. You know, we want to give thanks to you for following our show each and every week. You know, me and Vince are nuts, so we probably would have found a way to do something like this anyway. But it's just that much more rewarding to do it for you and with you every week. And thank you, Vince, because
thank you, man.
I appreciate you, brother. Love you, dog.
Yeah.
All right. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, please have a safe holiday. Mask up. He's Vince. I'm Len. And in parting, we say,
We'll see you when it's time to meet again.